So here's my great claim, that the study of the virtues deserves to be a respected model for mental health and wellness. It's at least as good as psychoanalysis. And I would argue that the virtues have more intention, more history, more thought, and more justification behind it than the psychoanalysis theory. And part of my goal in giving this presentation, and part of my goal in giving a presentation about each of the virtues, is to build public awareness of exactly this, that the virtues are a practical, modern tool for mental health and wellness. That the virtues are the great do-it-yourself DIY model for mental health. And since these presentations are for the public, I'm going to attempt to present the virtues from a rational and humanistic point of view rather than a spiritual one. And that's in line with Joseph Pieper's model, and that model is the one I'm going to be using mainly for the discussion of the virtues. And I'm going to talk in just a minute about Joseph Pieper. But the virtues, but back to the spiritual versus humanistic and rational point of view. Obviously, they're not in contradiction with one another, but most people think of the virtues as a Christian thing. And I just want to mention this, that they're not. They're actually Greek. The virtues predate Christianity and go to the Greek philosophers of antiquity. But it was so useful as a model that it was adopted by the Christian church and used for thousands of years. As an aside, and this is more personal here, it's a funny coincidence that the science of the virtues is very similar to the thought process behind Ayurveda, and that's my professional background. More about that at another time. So I said already that as I study the virtues, we're going to study them in a way that's consistent with Joseph Pieper's model, which he really takes length to justify these virtues and to really understand them and their structure. And I'm going to do that too. Joseph Pieper was a prominent German scholar in the 1900s. He was a prominent scholar of the virtues, and his works are awesome. They're great, but sometimes they're difficult to read and understand. It can take a lot of time to decipher them. And so here's my goal, and here's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to make his practical ideas easy and accessible. Easy and accessible to everyone. My calling is as a teacher. I love to communicate. I love to share with people complex ideas in a very simple way. Hopefully you have the feeling that that this talk already has been something that's easily accessible and understandable. So that you know exactly where we're coming from here and the kind of value to listening to these talks. And what I'm going to do, specifically what you're going to learn in these presentations, is I'm going to show you how to use the virtues as a practical tool to feel better, to be more emotionally stable, to be happier, to be more effective as a person. And in each talk, I'm going to show you, 1, why the virtue is essential for mental health and well-being. 2, practical ways to recognize and pinpoint deficiencies in the virtue. Now, you might be struggling with fortitude, right? Having strength. You might be struggling with hope, right? And you might not know why you're struggling with those individual virtues. Well, what I'm going to show you how to do is pinpoint exactly where you're going wrong. To pinpoint exactly the part of your life where there's a mistake about what hope really is, or a mistake about what justice really is. And that's, once you see that, you'll know where the problem is, right? And, you have to know the dragon before you can slay it, right? You have to know the problem before you can fix it. So as soon as you understand where and pinpoint where the issue is, I'm going to give you practical tools and strategies to grow in each of that virtue, to grow in that specific virtue. So you'll have more faith, you'll have more hope, you'll have more love in your life, that you'll be more prudent, wise, right? That you will be more just and fair in your dealings with people so your relationships improve, that you will have strength to face difficulties and obstacles, and that you will have temperance, the ability to hold back when you need to. So I hope you enjoyed the talks. More importantly, I hope you get a lot out of it, that it helps improve your quality of life. So thanks.